Hello!
Hey, we're here talking about our second day of our Chicago theater tour, and the second play we saw was called Hephaestus, presented by Looking Glass Theater at the Goodman. Lindsay, tell us about Hephaestus.
Okay, so Hephaestus is a Greek myth, and the story is pretty simple. Hephaestus is an illegitimate child. Hera throws him, who is the big kahuna wife of the big kahuna god, throws him off the mountain. He tumbles. He learns how to make really cool stuff. Hera wants the stuff and invites him back up to Mount Olympus. Hephaestus, quite naturally, is not so keen to go. Hera sends down a number of gods to convince him. Then finally she finds one who convinces him, and he goes back up to Mount Olympus.
That's the story itself. But the story was told in the framework of a child reading a bedtime story to herself.
And it's important to note that all of the elements of the story are being told through circus elements. So there is aerial silk being used, there was aerial hoop, trapeze, the big...
the German wheel thing?
The German wheel, which was lovely, an acrobatic duo, which was very stunning, and it ended with a 7-man trapeze tightrope act, which was trademarked by the Flying Loendas, and most of them were in this play. There were 7th generation circus performers in this play, which was what was thrilling about it. It was really thrilling to see circus up close like that. The theater was very small, and the audiences were on 3 sides, so you had circus up close and personal.
Yes. So now this comes. So we know that the circus acts were great, and we were here to see a play. So the question then remains: how does it work as a play? And I have to say, and I think I speak for both of us, it didn't work as a play, and I'll tell you why. I think they were afraid of just telling the story. They could have told the story purely through circus, and I think we would have all gotten it.
It's not that. I wish they had really had more confidence in telling the story with their bodies. When a guy drops from the ceiling, he's in straps, so it's quite clear that he's flying. He's got a cape on, an arrogant look on his face. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to go, well, this must be a god. And then they use red lights, and I'm like, well, this must be the god of war. It's not. They could have easily told the story just with their bodies, and to have a child narrator telling a very the script was very, very childish, not even childlike. It was very childish and really got in the way of enjoying the acts.
Yeah, I mean, in the whole if you wrote all the dialogue out from beginning to end, it couldn't have been longer than a page, really.
I know.
So,
and it was a narrator, are you telling me that this is a top flight company with top flight technology, top flight acts? Are you telling me they couldn't come up with a top flight dramaturge to come up with a different way other than using a narrator? I loathe narrators.
Yeah, and then so what happens was the girl would tell her one sentence of the story, and then the circus act would come out. But there would always be a massive disconnect between the story that they were, quote-unquote, telling and then the story that they were showing, because it was really 2 different things. And the connection tended to be really tenuous between the verbal story and the physical story. And it only, the verbal stuff only emphasized the disconnect, so it really could have helped not to have it there.
So, and it's probably important to note that this play has smashing reviews.
But I think it's in its 5th remount.
It's in its 5th remount. So here's a couple of things for you in the classroom. 1, really emphasize with students that when you're writing a play, you have to use your characters. And you have to use them, and storytelling with a narrator is not playwriting. It's not a play. So really emphasize that it's got to be characters interacting, not using narrators. Another thing is the use of extra skill. People with extra skills is really kind of interesting to pull into the theatrical element. Like, do you have people who in your school who have music skills or circus skills or art skills or dance skills? How can you use these people in your use of theater?
Yeah, see, I think that was the great idea of this play was integrating the circus and the theater. It was just the way they did it, I think, that wasn't successful. And I'll also say the circus itself was amazing. I mean, there were moments of real drama. Unfortunately, they weren't connected to the story at all.
And my big problem with circus acts sometimes is that there's a real emotional disconnect between the performer and the amazing of the act. And whoever coached the circus performers did a really good job of making sure they were in character. Now, of course, some of the characters were very appropriate to disconnect, like silver men golems. And the problem with that was that they went this way and they put this effort in, and then when they got to the 7-man tight wire act, they completely dropped their characters, and they were just circus people focused on safety, which of course they should be, but it made this climax moment so not moving. So that's my nutshell review is thrilling, not moving.
Out of 10?
5.
I say 5. 10 for the circus and 0 for the play.
You got it.
Okay.
Okay, bye.